Hi everybody, Dhaman Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. Sorry, I actually ended up starting this video before I was actually properly set up, so I'm an idiot. Where the hell am I? Okay, but yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I've been rereading all the stories that I've had on my favorites list on the website fanfiction.net, and I've been going through them by order of publication date. I've started, I think the first story was published in 2003. I started reading in 05, 06, and now I'm all the way up to 2012. So let's dive into these stories and see if, coming back to them, if they deserve to stay on my list or not. Starting with Fata Morgana by Kurokishi. And this is a Naruto crossover with Infinite Stratos. An anime, this actual pairing I've talked about one or two times earlier, and I've talked about Infinite Stratos. I don't know if I mentioned it. I've never seen Infinite Stratos. I know nothing. I've never read the manga. I know nothing about it aside from what I've read in fanfiction. So I know I assume, just because that's what all the fanfics are, that it's a battle tech mech anime, but I've never actually seen anything of it. This is one where Naruto, not as Ninja Naruto or anything, just Naruto gets inserted into the IS universe as his parents basically being the creators of the ISs, and he wields their prototype armor before they made the ISs, and then shows up to the academy to teach Ichika. He's still got an easygoing personality with a dark past, and his antics are certainly entertaining. But the story is, it's in the realm of all these unfinished stories that never really got through any arcs, and so it just gave tidbits of backstory that set up great things, but there's no payoff. The banter is enjoyable enough to say you should give the story a look, but I doubt it'll stay with you after you finish reading it, and it's going to fall off my list. Alright. The next story on the block is a Harry Potter story called Fantastic Elves and Where to Find Them by evansentranced. Okay, I got it. So this is a Harry Potter story that takes place when Harry's a kid, and the Dursleys just drop him off in the forest and basically leave him, and he just starts living off the land, and it basically just follows him wandering around and thinking he's finding out he has magic powers, so he's like, oh, maybe I'm an elf. And so he just starts acting as an elf, and he meets various people and kids and starts interacting with them until he basically gets caught by witches, and it ends with him basically being shipped off to Hogwarts. There's a sequel which is complete, and then there was a third, which I believe goes through his first year, and then there is a third story, but that one never finished. And maybe it would have this story would have felt better if all three of them were combined into one, because then there definitely would have been at least one or two arcs complete. But here does not by itself. This little bit of just traveling and little bit of character really just feels like a prologue and not a story in its own right, and it's not going to stay on my list. Alright, moving on, we now have Wanderer by cywsaphyre. This is another Harry Potter MCU crossover that barely gets started before the author stopped writing. This features an immortal, dimension-hopping Harry who ends up visiting the MCU for the first time when Thor and Loki were children, and ends up staying with them for a bit, and then goes away for a while, and then comes back at the start of Iron Man 1. The story, the chapters only go so far as basically when Tony gets back from Afghanistan, so not only do we not get much far into the actual events of Iron Man or anything, but the interesting payoff that would have come from Harry meeting Thor and Loki again when Avengers came around and stuff, that never comes off. And we never actually get to see that payoff. Harry's persona and interesting are a little Harry's persona and history are a little interesting with how he spent his time traveling, and his like rapport with Pepper is really entertaining, but there's just not enough here to worth a revisit, so it's not going to stay on my list. Number 4 is Time Travel by Yaoi Cookie, and this is a Final Fantasy VII time travel fic where Cloud and Aerith end up restarting their lives with a big change in the form of FemCloud. I really wish this story had continued because the quality of the writing was really high and the changes being made are really interesting, with Cloud basically having a huge squad of friends and her house growing rather large with all the butterflies that she keeps spooking. Sadly, it's very much stays in like, it doesn't get anywhere near the start of canon. Like, I think I'm pretty sure it ends when she's still like not even double digits age, and so it's a lot of building up groundwork and character beats that are very much meant to set up, and again, no payoff. I did enjoy this, like, in coming back to it and rereading it, but the lack of follow-through kind of just left me disappointed. And I have a feeling that anybody who reads this by themselves, they would also end up feeling the same way, of just like frustrated. And because of that, I'm sadly gonna kick this off my list as well. More Avengers time, this time with Fallout by Mr. Chaos, a sequel to Lies My Partner Told Me, which was a Castle Avengers crossover where Castle was actually Dr. Hank Pym and Ant-Man and helped out during the Avengers fight with Loki. This is another sequel that doesn't get anywhere without sputtering out, and if it had been combined with the predecessor, I might have kept that combined story on my list. I didn't keep the original story either, because the original story just felt like a bunch of action beats and character relationships evolving too fast to feel real and not enough caring. And here is like the actual later character beats and stuff. We don't get to an actual aside action scene, so it's all just character beats with the Avengers actually starting to connect more and more with Castle and Kate and the others. And I think maybe if these had been combined, the combined story would have stayed on my list. But each of them by themselves, it's just not worth bothering with. It's going to fall off my list. Number 6 is Legal Alien by Whispering Darkness. And this is another, again, Harry Potter crossover with the Avengers movie. Literally, again, with just like during the fight, and this whole thing is basically just a built up for one instance of wordplay that barely counts as a joke. Like, it's really nothing to say about this other than it's inoffensive and pointless and not worth bothering with. It's gonna fall off my list. I don't even know why I put it on there in the first place. And lastly, we're going to talk about The Random Craziness File by Dark Luxian. And this is a Harry Potter idea dumping ground for this author. This author really seems to like darker characters, and by dark I don't mean just like oh, he's an anti-hero. Like, I mean, I guess anti-hero, but like these guys, this is filled with dark / evil Harrys or stuff that are just unpleasant to read about. Like the first character we introduced is a female Harry that was raised by President Snow from the Hunger Games, who delights in murder, rape, slavery, and all that stuff, and comes back to the Harry Potter world during the Goblet of Fire, and who's like first thing she does is like enslaves Hermione and a whole bunch of others, and starts just and we see so many extra scenes of her. Like that's a story that he keeps coming back to, and the rest are all again same thing where it's like all just dark evil like characters, and I just don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy this kind of thing. If you like that sort of thing, maybe you'll be happy with these bits, because they are decently lengthy. Each one gets a decent amount into it, so maybe you'll enjoy this collection of half-baked ideas, but I just did not like this, and it's not going to stay on my list. And so that will be it for this video. A very, very interesting fanfiction status time, where now I've read another 7 stories, so that makes 738 stories in total read, but all of them were kicked off my list, so I still only have 356 stories staying on my list. Yeah, this would just seem to be a bad batch this time around. But I'm honestly surprised that I haven't had more episodes where that's happened. I guess my taste hasn't changed that much, but this one was just filled with a mixture of taste change and just unfinished stories that didn't get to live up to hype. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you. And as always, links to all these stories are in the description of the video, as well as a couple other links that you might want to check out. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.